Hey again. So I thought I'd do another video after my recent upload. Um, so yeah, where were we? There we were. The switch had clicked because I had this table of 10 spaces that I could put 10 consultants around. So I saw it. The dream started to ignite in my brain and in my belly. It's a big belly now. So I worked hard. I got my head down. I worked hard. I took a team from zero. I started with one, then two, then three, then five, then seven, nine, and 12. The most I ever had on the street, actually, canvassing, was 12 consultants. And went from recruiting zero per week to recruiting 230 plus members in a week. We went from 250, 200 attendances to well over 1,200 students training. So the ultimate goal for a manager back then was to get 1,000 students training. Because that was, it was all stepping stones. As a consultant, recruit 15, 20 members per week, you become a manager. As a manager, you get to 1,000 students training on a weekly basis, you become a zone director. And as I said in my previous videos, that my goal wasn't to become a manager, it was to become a zone director. I wanted to be at that level. Now, a zone director's income on a yearly basis back then was this is just a basic income. So, normal people get 250, 300 pound a week, maybe 20,000 pound a year. A zone director's basic income before bonuses, have in mind that a consultant's basic income was wherever they recruited, no bonuses. A manager's basic income before bonuses was 25 grand a year, and a zone director's income before bonuses was over £90,000 per year. And yes, they got bonuses on top of that depending on how their zone performed. So as I received 40% of the profits from the region, they also received profits from my region also. In the time before we started to become, successful, I don't know if you remember me talking about a deficit, that each region would accrue a deficit, which is, you go into a negative. You basically got this pot of money, and it starts off at zero when the region starts, and then every time you need to take some out of it, as in your income or your haul hire, if you're not making profit, that makes a hole. So eventually, this hole is deep. My deficit that I had accrued with GKR Karate was just over £80,000. So I was technically in the red by £80,000. And my region had to work that off. So I didn't start getting bonuses at 1,000 attendances. Even though I wasn't 1,000 attendance plus, I didn't start getting bonuses. We were still living on 25 grand a year because we had to work off this £80,000 debt that GKR needed to recoup from, and rightly so. They'd paid me for 2 or 3 years at 25 grand, so that's 50 grand right there. And then the haul hire on top and insurance and stuff like that, and everything sort of comes out with a pot, really. So rightly so, I had to work it off. Which we did, it was worked off, we didn't start getting bonuses straight away. I can remember saying to one guy that he said, "Oh, what makes I'm gonna quit. What makes I don't think I'm gonna take this job or whatever it was. I think I'd just offered him the position, and he said, I said, well, look, dude, I earned £70,000 a year because that was the thing. That was, you earned £70,000 a year on 1,000 attendances, and he said, yeah, but you drive an MREG Honda Prelude. Now I love that car. I went to my region with a blue Renault. We then upgraded to a Honda Civic Coupe. Nice black one, and then that got that went away. So we then got a Honda Prelude, and I absolutely loved that car. It was like not like today's cars. The whole dashboard just lit up. It was like the Starship Enterprise, and it was an amazing car. And I said, yeah, but this is the car of my choice. It wasn't, but it kind of was. It's what I could do at that time. So yeah, so he didn't believe that I was earning £70,000 a year, and I wasn't at that time. I was recouping, and this is the things that you can't tell consultants. There's certain things that you can't tell people that are, I'll say, on a lower level than you. Just like there's certain things that the zone directors couldn't tell the managers. It was on later on down the line. I was privy to a lot of stuff, and I mean a lot of stuff. So if you want some gossip, people, you got to stay tuned. So we worked off the deficit. Still living in our 3-bedroom house with our meeting room downstairs. And I then received a phone call one day. Now the bonuses were paid every single 13 weeks. Every quarter there was a bonus. And you would get an email of a profit and loss. In fact, no, you didn't. The zone director got the profit and loss statement for your region. We didn't see it, so we didn't know anything. We just assumed what we were being told was what it was. So we didn't see anything. It was only later on down the line that they actually started emailing us the profit and loss statement so that we could then say, right, okay, this is what I'm going to invoice you for, etc. So my first bonus check, I got a phone call, and my first bonus check on 1,000 attendance was just over £5,000. So that's not bad. 13 weeks work, 13 weeks on 1,000, I've got £5,000. That's not a bad bonus check, plus my £2,000 a month. So that's all right. It's all right for 13 weeks. I'm like, yes, I'm finally in bonus. I'm finally making bonus. Well, that all goes, doesn't it? You kind of think, well, now that I'm in bonus, I can start spending it. My second bonus check was between £12,000 and £13,000. So 13 weeks later. I averaged, in my time over 1,000 attendance, I averaged between £15,000 to £16,000 bonus every 13 weeks for 3 years. My time from being a consultant to 10 years down the line, I earned and spent over £750,000. £750,000. I earned and spent the lot. My biggest bonus figure was just over £20,000 for 13 weeks work. It was the second biggest bonus figure that had ever happened in the country. No one ever came nowhere close. I can remember as things were going really, really well that we did a grading, and this is what helped with the £20,000. We did a grading. We graded 150 people in a weekend, which meant that week I was walking to the bank. So if you'd have seen me in town, and you're probably kicking yourself now because I was taking 10 grand to the bank. I was banking over 10 grand. I did that 2 months in a row. 10 grand, and then another grading, and then another 10 grand. So I was banking a lot of money for, well, basically one-man band, really. Something that we had gone from zero to then becoming, number one in the country. Number one, man. So that's pretty epic. I met some good guys along the way. Nick Davis, I'm sure you want me to mention your name, don't you? Savannah, and then David John. He was a good guy as well. Derek Hoff. He was a bit of a tea leaf. Yeah, he used to get a couple of pastings from me. Just sort of some silly things that he did. Old guy would never make it, but he used to recruit 20, 25 members a week. DJ was always a 20 member a week guy. He was solid. Nick was a bit up and down. There's a guy called Dave Grogan. He was again 20, 25 members a week. I can remember there was one girl called Vicky Shields. She was she'll probably never watch this, but she was a big girl, and she'd recruit 20 members a day, 30, 40 members a week. That's that's ridiculous. That is stupid. You're looking at 800 quid in a week for a consultant. So I've done a good job in training these guys, my sales skills, and again, I'll attribute that to Bob McCracken and his way of doing things and his karate. And I produced some solid guys. We had the number one team in the country. We had the number one region. We're out recruiting everybody else. By Friday evening, the attendances were over 1,000. So it was just Saturday and Sunday as the icing on the cake. By Friday, we were over 200 members. So the guys didn't really work Saturdays and Sundays because we had that mentality of guys, you've got your goal. Let's not, get your goal, go home. That was a mentality that I instilled into people. Get it done, get out, simple. Go hard, go home, kind of thing. So you're probably thinking to yourself, well, you've got all this money, James. You've got all this money. You've got 15, 16 grand a quarter coming in. You've got 2 grand a month coming in. So the £20,000 bonus check to me was actually 26 grand. So I earned in 3 months what I was earning in a year. I can remember when I got the bonus check, the very first thing I did was I was sick of the pathetic little 50-inch TV that we had. What? So went to Curry's, I think it was Curry's, and I saw a 60-inch one, and I just bought that for cash. Nick Davis's TC meeting, because the one thing I haven't told you about consultants is when you become a team coordinator, you've got to go to Monday and Friday meetings, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. So I just added extra. So I can remember Nick Davis coming off his TC meeting, and it was like, right, Nick, TC meeting today is going to be helping me put this stand-up. So he was in the living room helping put the stand-up TV on. He was like, oh my God. Upgraded from a 100 Prelude to a Lexus IS 200. All this is at 26, 27 year old. So upgraded to a Lexus IS 200. And the thing about Lexus is when you take your car in for a service at Lexus, they actually give you a loan car, and the loan car is always the next one above. So they kept giving me this IS 250, just a box standard one, nothing special. And I can remember the guy from Lexus called me up and saying, James, I've got a car on the forecourt for you. I'm like, yeah, all right. He said, do you want to come down and have a look? I'm like, yeah, sure. So I went down to Lexus down Pryor Road, and it was just this box standard Lexus IS 250 upgrade. I said, yeah, it's all right. He said, yeah, but I've got another one around the corner. And he took me around the corner and showed me this. He said it's got a body kit on, it's got low profile wheels, 18-inch, 19-inch alloy wheels, and it's all kitted out. So I'm like, well, show me that one then. Went round and he just threw me the keys, and I went off for a couple of hours, just test driving this 35 grand car. Went back, said, right, let's do the paperwork. And I didn't think I was ever going to pass the credit check, because my credit score sucks, man. It totally sucks. Called me 2 days later and said, when do you want to pick up your new car? He said, nah, seriously, when do you want to pick it up? I'm like, now? So another day later, went down to pick up the brand new Lexus that had only got a couple hundred miles on the clock. So, yeah, we'd upgraded to, thought we'd finally made it. It was a nice car. private reg. I had a private reg pretty much since I was 28. So yeah, that was the pinnacle of our success. Really, was just having a massive region, 70 to 80 instructors. Instructors were volunteers. You would get them from either your instructor base, from your student base, or from your consultant base. So you'd have consultants that teach. I said that before. And I'd train them up. I'd teach them every single week. They'd come to me for training, and basically they didn't pay for their training. Instructors never paid for the training because they were putting something back into the club. So basically, the amount of training that they got given was close to, I think it was worked out between £5,000 and £6,000 between starting to black belt or something daft like that. If you include the gradings that they would have had to pay for, if you include the seminars they would have had to pay, the go to, all sorts of other classes they might have gone to. So if you include all that, you're looking at about £5-6 grand to get to teach an instructor. So there I was, 60, 70 instructors. It might have been more, I don't know, I can't remember. But there was, I was teaching 3 senior classes a week. So there was probably, I don't know, there was a Tuesday one, maybe 15, 20 instructors in. Wednesday one, when we opened south of the Humber. That had another 20 to 30 in there. And then the north of the Humber probably had another 20 to 30 in there. So yeah, there was a lot of, and like I said, they're all volunteers, and they all came on board for the karate. They all came on board for the karate. I can also remember saying to the consultants, because the consultants, they were probably the most unappreciated people in GKR. They were basically dog's bodies for the manager. When I was a consultant, I can remember Pete Devlin showing me the report. I'm like, yeah, I'll get to learn the report. No. I spent a Sunday afternoon driving round picking up fees. And I thought, that's something I don't want to do. I won't be doing this when I'm a manager. So everybody brought their fees to me. I never went to anybody's house. The fees were put through the letterbox. The fees were brought into senior class, and I never knocked on somebody's door for fees. So they came to me. So that was a bit more of an uplift for me. And time saving. Running around chasing fees is probably the worst thing you can do as a manager. You can spend half your day chasing one instructor that's forgot to hand the fees in or wasn't at senior class. It's like, no, you get them to me. Sometimes fees were up, sometimes fees were down. What I used to do is, if fees were down a couple of quid, I'd text the instructor and say, I'll call the instructor and say, look, your fees are down 2 or 3 quid. You need to make that up next week. First offence, I'd say, look, don't worry about it now. I'll put it in. But, next offence, next time, you're going to be putting it in. So you need to make sure your fees are right. I'd sometimes even do that just to get the instructor on board with things, even though the fees weren't down. If the fees were up, 2 or 3 quid, I'd say, look, whoever it was, your fees are up 2 or 3 quid. Your fees are out of whack. And, sorry, Sensei. I said, yeah, but they're up 2 or 3 quid. So, I'll give you that I'll give you that next week, and you can get yourself a cheeseburger or whatever. So it works swings and roundabouts. It worked swings and roundabouts. So, and it was give and take. It was always give and take. But yeah, so there's all these instructors, and I can remember it was consultant. That was what I was talking about. As a consultant, like I said, they were the bottom level of GKR Karate. And they were basically the door knockers, the canvassers, the guys that were out there in all kinds of weather. And my guys were out there in all kinds of weather. We had, there was floods, and the guys would get around their own area. They'd go out around their own area, and they might not get any members, but they went and did it, as far as I know. There was, 2 feet of snow one year, and they'd get out around their own area, and, sometimes they'd have to cancel canvassing because we just couldn't do it. So what I decided to do was take them to Mr. Chu's Chinese restaurant. I remember it because there was 17 or 18 of them. There was consultants. Plus I said, look, bring your partners along as well. you buy your drinks, because if I was buying them drinks and they went and drove, it's me. So they bought their own drinks, but I paid for the meal. I paid for the meal. I don't know how much it was. It was only a few £100, and at the time it didn't really matter. It was just, it was just, to me, pennies, because I was, like I said, 26, 27, 28-year old, and I had money coming in left, right, and centre. But I was always on the breadline. I was always struggling for money. And you think, wow, how does that even work? How does that even work? Because you rise your you raise yourself to your to where you're at, and 9 times out of 10, people don't live within the means. Nobody lives within the means. Everyone always lives just outside those means. Okay, so if your means are, for example, £100 a week, okay, you will always live to £120, £130 a week. So you always go beyond your means. I wasn't taught how to manage money. Nobody told me about investing. Nobody told me about this, that, and the other. Nobody told me about anything. It was just a case of, here's money in the bank. Nobody gave me any advice on what to do with the money. So I just spent it. Nice clothes, nice cars, nice things. One time we had maybe 3 or 4 cars on the drive. We could go on holiday, and it was only until we didn't. It was only until that I actually received what's known as Club 1000, which means you're now in the elite club. And to get that, you have to maintain 1,000 attendances for a month before the conference. So we did, 1,001 attendances were hit conference week. Okay, so that conference, there was no Club 1000, but I sustained it. I sustained 1,000 for the next 6 months, and with that was not only was the bonus checks that I was getting, the monthly income that I was being given, but also it came with about, I think it's about three grand bonus. And what they used to do was pay for a holiday. So GKR would pay for a holiday for anybody. It's not an all expenses thing. It will pay for your holiday. I don't know if they gave you spending money or not. I don't know. And it was always to go to Hawaii. So the holiday was Hawaii, tickets to Hawaii. But then it changed because people were asking to go on Bob Sullivan's boat. Yeah, he had a $3.2 million dollar yacht. Is I think it was 3.2 million. Got a helicopter. Built his own house. I think the first wing was probably $3 or $4 million. So even though I'm making money, everyone above me is making money as well. So instead of going on holiday, because of that switch that was there earlier, of not allowed to leave the region, not allowed to go on holiday, I went and bought a car. I went and bought a Mitsubishi FTO. Again, sleek thing, big exhaust, sporty car, just an extra car to, go to managers training in. I'm going 1 week in one car, going another week in another car, go another week in another car. So we kind of had the lifestyle, still living in our little 3-bedroom house. That there was a mortgage for, until the day came. And the day did come. Just bear with me 2 seconds. Sorry, pause the video. I needed to wet my whistle a little bit. Acai. So you went and bought a car. Which was frowned upon because you were supposed to spend it on a holiday. But I was told, can't have a holiday. That was the thing in my head. Didn't want to ask for a holiday, so I just thought it was money. So I went and bought a car. Stuff it. But yeah, it was frowned upon. The money I had earned, I spent it on something that I wanted. not something that they're wanting me to spend it on. So yeah, as you can imagine, if I was making, if my 40% of my time with them was 3/4 of a mil, what do you think the 60% was? What did they earn? What were they getting out of my region? Crazy to think, eh? But then when you're in that position, you are the dog's bananas. You are, you're the best thing since sliced bread. You can't do wrong. You basically become untouchable. Everyone used to joke that, that GKR Karate was a bit like, if you've ever seen the movie Goodfellas, it was a bit like Goodfellas. Okay? It was just that corrupt. It was just that corrupt. The managers basically did what they wanted. When you were in a position like that, you were, they didn't want to lose you then. They wouldn't say to, because at the time, and this was GKR's demise, this was their downfall, is the way I see it like a deck of cards. And all the cards are made from the same material, okay? Because we all go through the same training. And at the bottom level, holding everything up, which is actually the top level, are all aces. So imagine all these ace managers like Pete Devlin, Andy Ward, Gav Richardson, Paul O'Donnell, all those freaking strong guys, okay, that are all there in the UK, all cut from the same cloth, but all solid, and solid as rocks, man. They were hard. But then when they leave, you've then got to put something that's come from the same material but not as solid in there. So your bottom level you've got all aces, but then your bottom level starts to get kings. And when they leave, you've got to get queens, and so on and so on and so on. And I think they ended up with, when I left in 2017, they probably ended up with a management level and a zone director level of probably 5s and 6s of hearts running things. Not only in the karate element, but also in the business element as well. I've got stories about that, but hey, we're not there yet. So if you think, come on, James, give us some gossip, we're not there yet. We're getting there. But patience, grasshopper, patience. When you can snatch the pebble out of my hand, you're ready to leave. So yeah, conferences. We took, we took our son to a conference, and I can remember him needing changing, and I was there, the back of the conference with this crying baby. People are speaking, and I had to leave to get him changed. And as I got back in, apparently Bob was on stage asking for me. He was like, James, where are you, James? Oh, look at that, 1,000 attendance, doesn't even have to turn up. So that was quite funny. Bob, in all his negativity, did have a lot of positives as well. I was going through a bit of a rough time, and I can remember going to a conference, still successful, but head was starting to get a little bit what's going on. I remember Bob introducing me as his close personal friend. And to hear that was like, because my upbringing, I don't talk to my dad anymore. I've not spoken to my dad in many years now. But he was kind of, and I was terrified of my dad. But Bob was kind of the father figure that I didn't really have, because my dad never really showed me any supporting things. When I told him I was going to go knock on doors for a living, he was like, that's not going to work. Until I started turning up in nice flashy cars and, oh yeah, how's that karate thing going? Yeah, it's going all right, Dad, yeah. But yeah, it was really negative, never really supported anything, whereas Bob kind of pushed me to limits and beyond those limits. As a leader, then I could not fault the guy whatsoever. He was like I say, force to be reckoned with, great leader, great mentor, just didn't cross him really. You just knew that not to cross him. I've said this before. So, even though, he swore at me a lot of times and, put the fear of God into me, it was still a good leader. And I didn't realise that he thought of me that way, and that brought a tear to my eyes. So I'm trying to do this speech in front of 250 people, and, I'm in bloody tears. Because it was kind of heartwarming, it was kind of heartfelt that, he'd introduced me that way. But then I was successful. I was the flavour of the month, as it were. See, I didn't know back then that if your face don't fit, you don't get in. If your face don't fit, you don't get in. As we say, the elusive thing for a manager was get 1,000 attendances, you become a zone director. Well, I didn't do 1,000, I did just over 1,200. And do you know what I was told? Get to 1,500, you become a zone director. So hang on a minute. I have filled my end of the bargain. I've paid off my £80,000 deficit. You're now reaping rewards from me. I'm on 1,200 attendances, sitting pretty with a champagne light, and it was champagne lifestyle. I won't be drinking this stuff. I would literally go to the pub if I was going to the pub, and I would order champagne. And it was just champagne all day, all night. That was it. I didn't drink lager. I was a champagne drinker. I wasn't a drinker. So now I can't. Now I've got to get to 1,500. Become that switched again for me. That was a switch in my mind, and I'm going to attribute that to. I'm going to give that to the demise of me. Just that one thing. When I was working my way up as a manager, I can remember sat in the car outside Fitness First, just about to go into SDC training to teach the consultants. The 10 consultants that I had. And I can remember talking to Bob on the phone, and he said that if you want to become a zone director, start talking like one. Because back then I had a Leeds accent, proper Yorkshire. I'd go to shop and I'd get takeaway and I'd go to hospital and stuff. I'd drive car. So I changed how I spoke. Spock. That's how I used to talk. Changed how I spoke. And I started to act like a zone director. And talk like one. But then, when you get to that level and somebody says, let's just squeeze a bit more out of him. Let's just put the goalposts over here. Let's just change things a little bit. It wasn't 1,000 attendance anymore. It was 1,500. And like I said, that, looking back now, that was a switch. Lots of switches in this head of mine, isn't there? That was a switch. And probably at that time also, I didn't know that I was suffering with depression. To me, it was a friend of mine. Suck it up, bucko. So yeah, doing all right. Lived in a big 6-bed house, 300-metre garden, cars on the drive, £1,200 a month rent. That's what I was paying, £1,200 a month rent. I had to downsize. The garden was just too big, plus the money was starting to drop. So we got down to £950 a month rent. Which was a £250 a month saving. Yay! We had a home gym. It was a great sort of life to an average person like me that's not really had anything You know, my parents are both working class. Never had holidays really. The only holidays that I really had as a kid was when my dad was going to work in Spain for a week at a time and coming back a little bit heavier with some carry-on baggage. So that's the only holidays I really had. Yeah, I don't need to go into more detail about that, do I? He went to work in Spain. He had meetings in Morocco for some reason, in the mountains somewhere, and came back with some bricks of stuff and ended up carrying them home. So that was my holidays. Not really family holidays, but yeah. So didn't really have much as a kid, really. So all this stuff that I was getting, I was quite overwhelmed. But yeah, like I said, just that switch that now gets 1,500. It's like, what a kick in the bollocks that is. That's like, hang on a minute, there's something wrong there. I am the most upstanding manager you have in this country. Nobody in this country has done anywhere that I have done. I'll tell you why, because they also brought out another kind of reward, if you like, called a Leadership Star Award. And to get a Leadership Star Award, you had to have a certain amount of attendances over 12 months. You had to average over 12 months. They will give you a trophy and $3,500 bonus. I was the only one in the country to ever achieve one of those. No other manager achieved that. Well, I can remember getting the bonus and Gavin Salmon, who's now Cancho's, he's now Robert Sullivan's little bitch, if you like. He said to me, he whispered in my ear, "You need to go on holiday with this money." I'm like, okay, I am now being told what to spend money on. See, it wasn't your own. It wasn't your own. You'd earned it, but it wasn't your own. So yeah, nobody in the country had got my accolades. I had the number one team, number one region, number one bonus checks. I was number one in everything. The karate standard, which again you can't take away from me. You'll never take that away from me. The karate standard was second to none. And that's me blowing my own trumpet. But that switch, I just started to go on a downward spiral. Guys went by the wayside, consultants left, never really replenished them. Even when I had a big team of consultants, GKR would, because there were managers leaving left, right and centre, I just thought, okay, well, something's going on. I'd always get a phone call from Bob. Because I had the biggest team, they would always look to the biggest regions, the most successful regions for managers. Every other region might have been 600 attendances, 700 small teams, but they'd always look to the most successful region for the managers. They never looked anywhere else. They never took a manager, they never took a consultant away from a 200 attendance region. Okay, they never did that. They'd take it out of Blue Belt. I think Cal Hughes was a manager at Blue Belt, managing Nottingham. He's a tosser as well. So he called me one week and be like, right, okay, I need a manager. Who have you got? I'm like, nobody. But James, you got all these consultants. Okay, yes, fair enough. But they're not ready. Oh no, it's our job to get them ready. We'll get them ready. Well, I thought that was my job. They don't know how to convert. They don't know how to prospect for new consultants. The results aren't, some of them, the results aren't brilliant. You want 20, 25 members a week. I've got guys that are doing maybe 10 to 15 now because things started to plummet. They're a little bit lapsadays with certain things. My discipline started to plummet. Because of that switch, I just thought, you know what? What's the point? So things started to go on a slippery slope downwards. Physically, mentally, personal, financial. But the took one anyway. Didn't get the help he was told he was going to get. Didn't get the backing. It was supposed to get. It was supposed to, when Bob said it's our job to help them, we'll help them get ready. Didn't get anything. It was just there's 1, 2, 3, go. Okay, but you're not really supported by doing that. And if you didn't do it, why ain't you done 1, 2, 3? Okay, well, 2 weeks later, another guy had to go, and then because he was friends with another guy, I think it was one of the guys that went was Luke Jackson. Sharp as hell in the karate. I'm telling you, he was freaking amazing. He blew me away. I think he got his black belt, and he deserved it as well. I think he got his black belt within a 2.5, 2-year period. He was strong, and I only say this about the people that I genuinely mean it about. I don't look at somebody's karate ability and say you're amazing when they're actually quite shite. So I've always been like that. But Luke was solid. Took him away, and then his brother Matt. And I can remember how Matt started. He was having a party. I think it was a birthday party, and Luke brought Matt, and Matt was out of his face, and he just came up to him one night, the night, and out of his face, he's like, "Oh, Sensei, have you got any jobs?" I said, "Yeah, come around tomorrow with 35 quid, you can start." He's like, "Really?" I'm like, "Yep." That was the interview. That was his interview, over and done. And they took Matt, and because Matt was friends with a guy called Mario, it's a Mario and a Luigi, a Mario Marty. Because they were friends with a guy called Mario, they went to Wolverhampton, and he took Mario as well. And I said, "Sensei, Bob, these guys really don't need to be together. Nothing's going to get done." And this Matt doesn't know what he's doing. It's karate, again, very strong. The Jackson brothers were sharp as hell. They were known throughout the Central Zone. Both very, very sharp in the karate. Both gingers. Matt was a character. But yeah, so they took him and then Mario as well. So within the space of 3 or 4 weeks, I'd lost 3 consultants. Never got the chance to replenish. There was Big Corey, big black guy. He used to be a singer. He's back to being a singer now. Again, good guy, but just a little bit wayward. Didn't like discipline, didn't like authority. Took him as well. Took him to go to. He went over to the Northern Zone, I think, to train with Andy Ward. My region's on this. My team's been depleted. I haven't had any breathing time because they're taking one every other week. I haven't had time to replenish them. I haven't had time to say, right, okay, all right, you've taken one guy, give me a week or two to at least train somebody else up. Or you're taking one guy in 2 weeks, at least give me some time. What I used to do was, I did it for Dean Parker and I did it for Neil Remy. We knew when they were leaving to become managers. And I would take them out for dinner. Them and the partner, my current partner at the time, take them out for dinner just as a farewell. We'd always go to my favourite restaurant, my favourite Chinese restaurant, Mr. Chu's. Sadly, it's closed. So we'd always go there and dress up, and that's their like farewell. That's like their last supper. But these guys later on, there was no time. It was a case of you can't even plan a party for them. We used to have going away parties for them. The instructors would get together. I'd be like, right, okay, Neil's going, and what they do is they'd organise a party so that while we were in Mr. Chu's, they would be setting up the party and, get back to the house and, yay, surprise. And they'd always put like a manager's box together, like a manager's survival kit. It was all joke stuff, really. So that was a team of instructors that used to get together and do that. But these guys towards the end, they're just gone. Couldn't do anything with them. Couldn't plan a night out with them or say farewell to them properly. They just got plucked. I said plucked. So that was the rise and the start of the depletion. Yeah, I think I'll leave it there. I've been harping on for a long time now. But yeah, so lots of success. Another switch flicked, and the depletion began. So, you want to hear some more gossip? You want to hear about what goes on in Japan? I will tell you what goes on in Japan and what happened after we got back from Japan and what we had to do and pay for in Japan. I love you and leave you. I'll see you on the next video. All right. Keep watching. Don't forget, please, just give it a like, give it a dislike, give it a comment. You know, please, the people are watching these videos, but I need to know what you're thinking of them. I need to know if you're liking them, if you don't like them. I need to know what you think of my time with GKR Karate. I need to know if you're part of GKR Karate and what your time was like. I need to know if you can comment this on Facebook, you can comment this on YouTube. I need to know if you're a current manager, zone director, or general dog's body for GKR Karate currently. You know, what is your time like now? I mean, I don't know. I just know all a set of tools, but that's just my opinion. You know, the cream of the crap, as I would say. They've all risen to the top by natural attrition. So yeah, like, comment, dislike, comment, it doesn't matter. All right. Let me know what you're getting out of these, if you're getting anything. I mean, I don't want violins, unless you want to play a violin for me. So yeah, thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe as well. I'll see you on the next vid.